Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the Hayden Coker Show. Today we are talking a whole lot of football. We're talking a little bit of baseball, surprisingly. We've got a little bit about baseball, but we're just going to hit on it for a second. Shohei Ohtani, he etched a deal with the with the Los Angeles Dodgers for $700 million over a span of 10 years, and so the details will come out. He's not going to be getting. He's only going to be getting paid $2 million over the next 10 years, a year, or $2 million a year for the next 10 years. And from like 2033 to 2043, something like that, he's getting like $60-70 million a year. So I find that absolutely crazy because he signed for $700 million, and then he's only getting this much because of what his contract was like with the Angels. So he already wasn't getting paid as much there, but he made $40 million off of sponsorships and stuff last year. So I don't think he's going to be struggling at all by any means. This is a Hayden Coker Show presented to you by J&K Tire. You can go down to J&K Tire in Steele, Alabama, and get $10 off of any service at your next visit. That's $10 off of any service on your next visit. Now, let's talk a little bit about Georgia for a second. All right, let's talk about Georgia and Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola, the top quarterback in the 2024 class. He was projected to go to Georgia. Now he has a crystal ball to the University of Nebraska. Now, and people may think that sounds crazy, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you it does. It does. If you talk about, especially what Matt Rule had just said a few weeks ago about, to get a good quarterback now, it costs $1 million to $2 million. Well, guess what? Dylan Raiola is now crystal ball to flip his commitment to the University of Nebraska. Now, what does this mean for Nebraska? All right, well, you go and look at it. Dylan Raiola has family. He has family past with Nebraska. His dad graduated, he was taken in the second round of 2001 in the NFL draft. And then his uncle is apparently on the coaching staff. So this is reported by, I believe his name is David Wiltoff. But I find it kind of crazy because you go from being committed to Georgia to being crystal ball to Nebraska. I just find that crazy because it's so late. He was expected to early enroll at Georgia. He was expected to sign on December 20th, or that's when it's supposed to go into place, anyways. And now he's crystal ball to go to a school 1,000 miles away. So I just find that absolutely crazy. It's cool. Nebraska's back on the map. Matt Rule is rolling, and Kyle McCord is visiting over there in Nebraska. You have Julian Fleming that's also visiting over there in Nebraska. So I just find it very interesting. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything, but if Raiola is crystal ball and eventually commits to Nebraska, you would think that Julian Fleming would as well, considering that Julian Fleming was a 5-star coming out of high school a few years ago. He went to Ohio State. Hasn't had the best few years at Ohio State. He transfers to Nebraska. He's going to be Dylan Raioula's top target. Okay, now I get you have Chuba Purdy played quarterback at Nebraska right now. I'm not going to say he's some type of absolute dog. He's good. I'll give him that, but he's not Dylan Raiola good. He's not Kyle McCord good. I mean, Kyle McCord is good. He's not great, but I think Chuba Purdy is just below him. And for those who don't know, Chuba Purdy, the quarterback in Nebraska this past season, when he took over for Jeff Sims, is Brock Purdy's brother, and Brock Purdy is one of the favorites to win the NFL MVP this year. So I mean, the Purdys are great. If Chuba Purdy can find somewhere to go and find somewhere to play ball, that he is appreciated, that would be awesome. I'd love for that to happen. But if Dylan Raiola ends up going to the University of Nebraska and plays there and starts slinging the ball around to eventually, possibly, maybe even Julian Fleming, that is fantastic. That is just awesome because the way I think of it is Julian Fleming, I think he could be one of the better receivers in college football, but he's been outshined these past few years. You had Jackson Smith and Jigba there. You had Chris Olave there. You had Marvin Harrison Jr. there. So he's been outshined by all these key playmakers. If he can just go somewhere where he is the number one target, you've got a little situation on your hands. But we're going to roll on with some of the other headlines. Oregon landed Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, the transfer out of Oklahoma, who transferred a few years ago from UCF, went to Oklahoma, had a really, really, really great year, and now is transferring and will use his last year of eligibility at Oregon. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to watch next year. Auburn gets a wide receiver from Georgia State and Robert Lewis. And then you have Missouri get Georgia State running back Marcus Carroll. So that's going to be fun to see because guess what? Missouri, they had a fantastic running back this past year in Cody Schrader. Now, Cody Schrader, guess where he was the year before? Division II. Georgia State's not Division II. Georgia State is Division I. But here's the thing. They are getting these players from these smaller universities and developing them. If this continues to happen, oh, by the way, they just got a transfer quarterback. They just got a transfer corner from none other than Clemson. And his name, Andrew Mbakwe is transferring from Clemson and has his eyes set to either Oklahoma, Oregon, Clemson, or USC. Now, this is where it gets interesting because you have these high caliber players transferring to these different schools. It's going to lead to some of these lower schools that are getting the transfers. I'm not saying USC is not as good of a program in my eyes as Clemson. They're just not. They're going to start transferring to these smaller programs. They're going to start getting playing time. Guess what? This guy was Andrew Mbakwe is the top safety in the transfer portal right now. If he can go to USC, everybody knows how that USC defense fared off this past year. You end up firing your defensive coordinator, like so. Obviously, it was going to happen at some point because it was just absolutely terrible. But you end up firing your coordinator, and your whole defense is just absolutely terrible. If you can get a few good players in there, a few key pieces on that defensive side of the football, you can really start to make some noise. Another key player in the portal right now is Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan was a transfer from Texas A&M, who was the number one defensive lineman and a 5-star. I believe it was just last year. I do believe he just went on a visit to Oregon and just went on a visit to Oregon this past weekend and was supposed to be at Ole Miss is going to be at Ole Miss soon, I do believe. So you've got these different guys transferring. It's going to be fun to watch. You have another wide receiver transfer from Clemson. His name's Bo Collins. He transfers to Notre Dame. So you have these guys in the portal who are transferring. They're entering their name in. You have Ty Thompson from Oregon. He's going to be decent somewhere. Now I don't know about Power 5. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But people were saying that he was not developing like he should have when he was at Oregon, and that is why and a lot of people were saying, hey, I want Ty Thompson to start over Bo Nix whenever Bo Nix transferred in last year. That's what some of the Oregon faithful was saying. And then Bo Nix came in and just surprised everybody and became a Heisman contender last year and this year. So I find that crazy, and I just find it wild that some of these high caliber players are transferring out. I'm not saying this guy's high caliber and Tyler Van Dyke. I'm not saying he's high caliber or an elite passer at all, but he just took a visit to Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin, that this past year, they didn't get great quarterback play from Tanner Mordecai, who was formerly at Oklahoma, then formerly at SMU. But he transferred to Wisconsin. He didn't play too bad. He got injured for a few games. Then you had the backup come in and play. Now, guess what? Now you got somebody else coming in looking to play. Tanner Mordecai, I believe he's going to play in the bowl game. Braylon Allen, he's declared for the 2024 NFL draft, so he is not playing in the bowl game. So you got some other key pieces for Wisconsin who I believe are going to be playing as well. You've got Chesma Lucy, who I believe is out for the year. So it's going to be interesting when it comes down to some of the teams up north, especially with the Big Ten and Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA joining next year. It's going to be fun. And I just realized I have just created an absolute whirlwind by talking about 7 different things when I should have been focused on just a few different things. So, another guy I wanted to talk about was Will Howard, and you also have Cam Ward out there. So those 2 guys are probably the best names in the transfer portal when it comes to quarterback play. Now, Cam Ward has thrown for over 13,000 yards in 4 seasons at Washington State, which is absolutely unbelievable. Will Howard is really good as well. Will Howard's done some things at Kansas State that other quarterbacks I wouldn't have thought would have done that. You had Adrian Martinez, who was there last year. Then Will Howard ended up coming in and playing for him while he was injured. Ended up playing, I believe he ended up playing in the SEC, or not SEC championship game, but the bowl game last year against Alabama. That made it interesting. And my dog is he's got his head on my leg right now, and I'm trying to give him a little bit of loving while talking to you guys about the brilliant sport of college football. So the transfer portal is absolutely popping right now. You got so much to talk about, and everything's going down. It should be going down here within the next few weeks. Are you wanting to reset your vehicle to showroom condition? Well, Tyler Meads and A Mobile Detail has got you covered with professional grade ceramic coatings, paint enhancements and corrections, and full interior and exterior details. Call him now at 256-458-9949. That's Tyler Meads at 256-458-9949, or message him at A Mobile Detail on Facebook. Hey, football fans, if you need a lawnmower, a tractor, or an implement, then go see my friend Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor in the southwest little city of Asheville, Alabama. Alabama Tractor specializes in Kubota brand machines and equipment along with other brand items as well. They also have a huge parts and service department to keep your machines up and running year in and year out. You can go see Alex and check out their large inventory and ask about their 0% financing. Alabama Tractor is located at 275 6th Avenue, Asheville, Alabama. You can reach Alex at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000. Check us out on Facebook at Alabama Tractor, Asheville. At Alabama Tractor, you can trust their machines and equipment to work just as hard as you do. Hey, Pell City, are you looking to spice up your morning routine? Well, you can try Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit, made with a real boneless breast of chicken, seasoned with a spicy pepper blend, and served on a freshly baked buttermilk biscuit just for you. Stop by and enjoy Spicy Chicken Biscuit in the morning at Pell City, at the Chick-fil-A in Pell City on Martin Street. Talking a little bit of transfer portal. I haven't made it through just quite everybody yet, but I wanted to go ahead and pay the bills right quick. USC is a big name that I like to look at whenever I think of either Will Howard or Cam Ward. For one, Will Howard, the guy has an arm. Okay, he can sling it around. He's used to throwing it 40 times a game, so he can do those things. Or he can throw like Caleb. I'm not saying he can throw like Caleb Williams can, but he can really throw. Like he can really throw it on the field and has that durability, kind of like Caleb Williams did with his arm. So he's not afraid to throw it around the field at all times. Matthew Cherry says, Hayden Coker, you should really try to do an interview with Tristan Jernigan out of Tupelo High School about being recruited to Alabama by Coach Saban. Mr. Matthew Cherry, I will definitely look into that. I have not heard that name yet, but I will definitely look into that and see what I can do. Matthew Cherry, we appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much. That's Matthew Cherry's response right there, so everybody can see. But and that's another thing. So the transfer portal affects high school recruiting as well because one, college coaches are not taking high school football. Or I won't say they're not taking them, but they're not taking them as much as they used to. 5 years back, they're not taking them like they used to because one, well, we've had some coaches say it and come out and say it. Well, guess what? Some of these high school kids aren't as loyal. You can see it right now with some of the coaches. For instance, you see it with Perry Williams. He flipped his commitment. I believe it was from Alabama. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. He may not even have flipped. But you also had another wide receiver and flip from Alabama. And guess where he's at now? He's committed to Auburn. So it works in different. It's not just Auburn and Alabama. It's different schools out there. I don't have an exact example. But you have schools flip. You have people flip. Like Walter Nolan, what's he doing? He spent 1 year at Texas A&M. Boom, he's fired. Guess where Walter Nolan's going? He's going out of there. He's going to either Oregon or Ole Miss or somewhere like that. I don't know exactly where he's going just yet. But that's going to be a fun one to track and to see where he's going in the future. It's going to be interesting. Well, if I don't know how to get a comment off the screen now, apparently. But yeah, guys, it's going to be interesting when it comes down to seeing where all these guys landed. Arkansas just landed a quarterback commit from Boise State and Taylon Green. So that's going to be interesting to see starting next year. Is he going to be the starter? Are they going to roll with Malik Hornsby? So you've got these different guys in the portal. They're going to these, whether it's these teams with experience at quarterback, they're going to have to compete with these different guys. You have these running backs who are entering the transfer portal. Cody Schrader, I believe, is going to go to the NFL. I don't necessarily know that, but if so, guess what? You got Marcus. I believe his name is Colin. I just said it earlier, and I should know that. Marcus Carroll. There we go. Marcus Carroll. He's going out of Georgia State. He's coming into Missouri. He's gonna try his best to replace Cody Schrader. Guess what? Missouri had was a leader in rushing yards this past year in the SEC, so that's a good spot for him. Then you had Torian Pride Jr. He transferred out of Clemson to, guess where? Missouri. That's the name I couldn't remember earlier that I wanted to bring up just then. So you got all these different guys, and they're going to get their playing time at some point because, one, look at Ty Thompson Jr. Or not Ty Thompson Jr., but look at Ty Thompson, for example. He was at Oregon, and now he's in the transfer portal. Obviously, he didn't develop like he wanted to. So I'm very curious to see what schools are going to reach out to him and who he is going to end up with. If he ends up with a bigger school like, for instance, you had Tyler Show come from over at Oregon earlier or a few years back. He came over from Oregon to Texas Tech. Now he's in the transfer portal again. So it's just like a whole whirlwind. You look at past references. You look at what Bo Nix did. Bo Nix went from Auburn, not so good. But I won't even say that, guys. I think that Bo Nix was a pretty decent quarterback at Auburn, but I don't think that he had one. I don't think he had the pieces around him. Two, the system did not fit Bo Nix at all. It's not a quarterback-friendly offense, really. It's more of a it's more of a dual threat type of guy. If you're gonna be a quarterback at Auburn, you better learn how to run the football because that's just how it's been over the past few years. You look at Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham, he had an arm, but guess what? He could run as well, and that's what they utilized him as well. They utilized him in the run game as well, Jarrett Stidham, and he wasn't even really that fast or athletic, but he was still a dual threat quarterback. Then you have guys like, for instance, let's use Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall in 2014, Nick Marshall transferred, or I believe it was 2013, transferred over from Georgia, who was a defensive back at the time, transferred to Auburn and ended up playing quarterback, and really he showed out and did a good job. Cherry chimes in. He's the beast. He was just visiting Alabama this past weekend and was also invited to Coach Saban's house with other recruits. Now, Matthew, was that over Thanksgiving? I don't know if that was with other players or not. Bo Nix wasn't as good at Auburn due to Brian Harsin. Yeah, Matthew Cherry, I do agree. I do think it was part of that. Now, you had the first year he was with Gus Malzahn. See, I just don't think that. Like Gus Malzahn, he wasn't a great quarterback coach when it came to guys who wanted to throw the football. If you look at what Bo Nix did at Oregon, he wanted to throw the football, and he did throw the football. Oregon built their offense around Bo Nix, and they absolutely crushed it this past year. Now, I get they didn't do good in the Pac-12 championship game, but you look at what they did earlier on in the season, they really played good. And Matthew Cherry, I appreciate you chiming in, brother. It means a lot. So you've got a bunch of different outcomes that can happen. You have Blake Shapen to Mississippi State. You have all these different outcomes. Like I said, Tyler Van Dyke visiting Wisconsin. You have the wide receiver at Auburn, Robert Lewis. That's going to be an interesting one because you have Perry Thompson coming into Auburn this upcoming year, the 5-star. That's going to be fun. I believe he's out of South Alabama. And so you have these different recruits. You have these different transfer portal targets. It's going to be interesting to see over the next few years what's going to happen, especially see with the SEC. The SEC is coming out, and they are adding 2 teams. Who are they adding? They're adding Oklahoma and Texas. That's going to be next year. So people better go ahead and start getting their Texas SEC or Texas and Oklahoma SEC merchandise because guess what? They're no longer in the Big 12. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. You have Danny Stutzman, who's coming back for one more year at Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel transferred to Oregon. You got a bunch of different things going on. You got a bunch of different things going on in the transfer portal, in recruiting, in fifth-year seniors. It's just going to happen. You have Dylan Gabriel, who seems like he's been in college for, I think this is his 6th year now. Michael Penix Jr., this was his 6th year, and he came in second in the Heisman voting, and he came in like 8th last year. So you have these guys that are hitting the transfer portal, and they're using their eligibility for good. They're using that extra year. they're using that, whether it's their 6th year, whether it's their 5th year due to COVID year and all that jazz. So they're using that for the better good and for them to improve as football players. And that's just how it's going to be over the next few years. And that's what's unfolding right before our eyes. Hey, Pell City, are you wanting to spice up your morning routine? Well, you can try Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit made with real boneless breast of chicken, seasoned with a spicy pepper blend, and served on a freshly baked buttermilk biscuit. Just for you. Stop by and enjoy a spicy chicken biscuit in the morning at the Chick-fil-A on Martin Street in Pell City. Now, watch out for the road renovations that they are doing in Pell City because they are doing little renovations to the road right there in front of Chick-fil-A and in front of Walgreens. Are you wanting to reset your vehicle to showroom condition? Well, Tyler Meads at A-Mold Detail has got you covered with professional-grade ceramic coatings, paint enhancements and corrections, and full interior and exterior details. You can call Tyler Meads now at 256-458-9949. That's 256-458-9949, or message him at A-Mobile Detail on Facebook. Hey, football fans, if you need a lawnmower, a tractor, or an implement, then you can go see my dear friend Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor in the South's best little city of Asheville, Alabama. Alabama Tractor specializes in Kubota brand machines and equipment along with other brand items as well. They also have a huge parts and service department to keep your machines up and running year in and year out. You can go see Alex and check out their 0% financing and their large inventory. Alabama Tractor is located at 275 6th Avenue, Asheville, Alabama. You can reach Alex at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000. You can check us out on Facebook at Alabama Tractor, Asheville. At Alabama Tractor, you can trust their machines to work just as hard as you do. All right, so a lot of talk about bowl games. A lot of talk about the Birmingham Bowl because guess what? Troy is playing there this year. They're playing none other than the Duke Blue Devils, who are head coachless right now. Well, I say that. It looks like Manny Diaz is going to be named the new head coach there. Matthew Cherry chimes in and says Bo Nix wasn't as good at Auburn because of Brian Harsin. And Tristan Jernigan was at Saban's house this past weekend along with Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. and other 2024 recruits as well. He also made Terry Saban and Coach Saban's mouth drop when he got on the Saban's piano and played for him. Now, Matthew, that's actually some interesting information because I have not heard that so far. Of course, I don't keep up with what some of these athletes' hobbies are outside of football because that's not just what I'm covering, but that's actually really cool. Now sometimes I would say, everybody's going to have a hobby, but that's actually really cool because not only are you wowing your coach, but you're wowing your future teammates as well. So I think that's really cool, Matthew. But now we're going to jump into some of the bowl games that are happening this weekend. And then we're going to jump into the NFL. So upcoming this weekend, we've got a few games, not too many. Up on the 16th, we have Georgia Southern versus Ohio. Georgia Southern is favored by 3.5. This is going to be a fun one because Georgia Southern has not had the best year. They have an 8-4 year. They started out the year good. Then they hit James Madison, and it seemed like everything just absolutely derailed from there. They had a comeback loss late in the year. That's not fun. You're playing Ohio. Ohio's a good football team, but I think that Georgia Southern might just have just enough to win this game. I think it'll be a close game. I think Georgia Southern eventually wins that game. No. Up next, we have Jacksonville State versus Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, down in the boot in New Orleans. That's going to be a fun one. Jacksonville State is favored by 3 points. Jacksonville State I won't say great year. They had a pretty decent year this year, going 8-4. Honestly, you look at what their schedule held. You had Liberty earlier on in the year. It was close for 3 quarters. Then Liberty just pulled away in the end. That was actually a really fun football game. I was at that game. I got to see Caden Salters really work his magic. That dude is a baller, by the way, if you have not been looking out for that. He made first team All-Conference USA at Liberty. So he's good. I think he's returning next year. So I think that Liberty is going to be good next year as well. I actually know somebody, and he's in my family, Jeremiah Cash. I'm going to shout you out real quick. He goes to Liberty University and does online school there. And he does not know anything about the football team, about the college football team. So I'm going to have to get on him about that. But he should know because I'm going to give him an earful later. So Jacksonville State and Louisiana. This is going to be a fun one. It's in New Orleans. I have some buddies of mine going down at the fraternities at Jack State, the sororities. I have some other friends going that are not involved on campus. That's going to be a fun one. I think that Jacksonville State is going to win. Obviously, I'm going to pick them. I have not watched Louisiana Lafayette play this year. I'm going with I'm going with the Gamecocks because who else would I be going with? You have New Mexico State playing Fresno. Now New Mexico State, another Conference USA team. They play Jacksonville State in the last game of the season. I assume that's going to be the new rivalry type of game that's going to be going on. New Mexico State is favored by 3.5 against Fresno. Now, New Mexico State are one of the better coached teams in Conference USA, coached by Jerry Keel. Now, Jerry Keel, I believe he wholeheartedly should have won Coach of the Year in Conference USA. I get it. You've got Jamie Chadwell. You've got Coach Rich Rodriguez. You've got all these other coaches. Guys, to me, Jerry Keel was fantastic this year. And he went into Jordan Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama, and beat I won't say a good SEC team, but a decent SEC team. So Jerry Keel, I have all the praise for him in the world right now. He's done fantastic. So I'm going with the New Mexico State. I believe I'm not even going to – I thought they were the Lobos, but I'm just going to keep quiet on that one because I'm not too sure. But next up we have Appalachian State. They are playing Miami of Ohio, not Miami, Florida. This is going to be a fun one. App State is good. App State's a good team. Obviously, they went into James Madison, into their backyard, and beat a undefeated James Madison Dukes football team that was absolutely fired up for that game. They went into that game, and they took care of business. Low-scoring affair, though. They did win. They are a 6-point favorite versus Miami. I think they win this game. I'm not going to spend too much time on these games, of course, because I'm not necessarily too familiar with them. But this game I am familiar with. You have UCLA, which is a 3.5-point favorite against Boise State. Now, Boise State just had a quarterback transfer out in Talon Green. He transferred to Arkansas. And by the way, all that information I just got from about the transfer portal, you can go see on three Media on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want to see, Twitter, whatever. But I got all that from On3, and then of course, I believe his name was David Wildorf. I'm not entirely sure, but this is going to be a fun one too. And I know I keep saying that after these games. Guys, this weekend is going to be a great weekend for college football. Even if you don't like watching football other than the SEC, why? Because you have these high caliber teams coming in, and well, I say high caliber. UCLA is not necessarily high caliber. Neither is Georgia Southern or Fresno State or App State. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. Now, UCLA, on the other hand, they had a quarterback transfer out in Dante Moore, who was a 5-star coming to Oregon originally. Then Bo Nix transferred to Oregon, or Bo Nix announced that he was staying for another year. Then Dante Moore decommits. By the way, at first I thought maybe Dante Moore goes back or flips his recruitment back to Oregon. They have Dylan Gabriel there. Dylan Gabriel's going to get the nod over Dante Moore because Dylan Gabriel is a proven quarterback, and he's pretty darn good. And you have him. You have Dante Moore getting offers. I believe it was from Michigan, Ohio State. I believe a bunch of people were saying this would probably best suit him. I'm not entirely sure. That is an interesting topic to talk about. Dante Moore is a good quarterback. You have Ethan Garber's playing right now. He's a starting quarterback at UCLA. I think he leads the Bruins to a win over Boise State. And then you have a good game going on Saturday night in Texas Tech and California. Texas Tech is favored by 2.5. This is going to be an interesting game because, well, California has one of the best backs in the country in Jaden Ott. I think that California is going to upset Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 2.5-point favorite. I think they upset Texas Tech and win this game. And I think that Jaden Ott is going to go off and really, really just continue to build his draft spot for the next few, if not this year, then next year, because he's good. But you also have Duke and Troy. This is a game I was talking about earlier. And I don't want to say too much because, I'll go ahead and say this. I am trying to get a media pass for the Birmingham Bowl currently. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. I'm currently in touch. Justin Lindsay says, "What's up, man? What's up, Justin? I hope you're enjoying the show." But I am trying to get a pass for the Duke and Troy game. I'm in communication, but nothing is for sure yet or anything. So I'm not saying yes or no. But that's going to be a fun game, and I'm hoping to actually film there. If I can and if I hear back. Matthew Cherry with another response. From what I hear, the Birmingham Bowl is supposed to have one of the largest crowds that they have ever seen in a while. I think Troy Trojans football will beat Duke football. Now, Matthew, I'm on your side on this one. One, because, Duke just lost their head coach. And two, I think that John Summerall has their boys over at Troy, working fantastic. Like, that is a good football team, and not enough people are paying attention to that. They've dominated South Alabama for what seems like years in that little rivalry that they have. And I think that they beat Duke in the Bowl this year. I really do. That's going to be a fun game. It's coming up on December 23rd. I think it's a night game, maybe. I don't know. I have to look into that early, or I have to look into that later on when I have some time. But that's going to be a fun one. So I'm going with Troy in that game. And some of the guys that we have entering the NFL draft are North Carolina's Drake May. Drake May is entering the NFL draft. And then you have Ricky Pearsall, the star wide receiver at Florida, who is also entering the NFL draft and foregoing his eligibility. And Drake May, by the way, who is a redshirt sophomore entering the NFL draft. Me personally, I think that Drake May should stay for another year. I think that he's a little at a disadvantage. Now, I don't know. I don't want to say disadvantage because I think he's a good quarterback, but I want to say that he's maybe underdeveloped. Like, I think he could be better than what he is. And I don't know if that's North Carolina that's holding him back, or he could be somewhere else doing it. Because I don't know. I mean, I genuinely think that he could be doing better elsewhere. This show is brought to you by J&K Tire. You can go down to J&K Tire and I mentioned the Hayden Coker Show for $10 off of any service. Just go down to J&K Tire in Steele, Alabama. Mention the Hayden Coker Show, and you will get $10 off of your next purchase or service. Hey, football fans, if you need a lawnmower, a tractor, or an implement, then you can go see my friend Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor in the southwest little city of Asheville, Alabama. Alabama Tractor specializes in Kubota brand machines and equipment along with other branded items as well. They also have a huge parts and service department to keep your machines up and running year in and year out. You can go see Alex and ask about their 0% financing and check out their large inventory. You can reach Alex Farmer at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000. And Alabama Tractor is located at 275 6th Avenue, Asheville, Alabama. Alabama Tractors, you can reach Alabama Tractor, and you can trust their machines and equipment to work just as hard as you do. Like I said, you can call Alex Farmer at 205-594-7000. Are you wanting to reset your vehicle to showroom condition? Well, Tyler Meads and A Mobile Detail has got you covered with professional-grade ceramic coatings, paint enhancements and corrections, and full interior and exterior details. You can call him now at 256-458-9949. That's Tyler Meads at A Mobile Detail at 256-458-9949, or message him at AIM Mobile Detail on Facebook. Guys, I mentioned bowl games. I mentioned the transfer portal. I mentioned NIL. I mentioned Dylan Raiola coming out of high school and being crystal balled to guess where? Nebraska, of all places. And Matthew Cherry says Troy lost their head coach as well, but he's staying for their bowl game. Now, Matthew, I think it's going to be interesting to see where Summerall goes, because I think Summerall's a good coach. But whether he goes to, he's obviously not going to Mississippi State, but because you have Jeff Lebby there now, what if he goes somewhere like Arkansas? What if he stays, or what if he's without a coaching job for a year, or maybe he goes somewhere smaller, and then comes back to he went to I must have missed that, Matthew. I didn't know he went to Tulane. I must have missed that one. But Matthew Cherry says that John Summerall has went to Tulane. I didn't know that. Thank you for the information, Matthew. I appreciate that. And I'm not doing my due diligence as a college football analyst, but, I'm just amateur, whatever. It is what it is. But I'm going to break down my top 10 NFL teams just for you guys. We're going to make it quick, simple, easy. I don't want to drag you guys out too much. But coming in at number 10, I have the Browns. I think the Browns are coming in at the number 10 spot. Well, for one, you lose your starting quarterback for the rest of the year, and Deshaun Watson. And then you have DTR, who didn't play too well. He played good in his second game starting, but he went down with a concussion, I believe. And now you have Joe Flacco, who is lighting the world on fire with Cleveland right now. He's playing really good football, and the Browns defense is they're going to do their thing. So I have the Browns at number 10. And number 9, I have a team that is red hot right now. And Matthew, I'm not sure who your NFL team is, bud, but I would really like for you to chime in and let me know who your favorite NFL team is. Coming in number 9, I have the Packers. The Packers, they've been playing phenomenal so far this year. I'll say so far. They started out the year rough. they've won. If they win tonight, guys, they're going to be 4-0 in their last 4 games. They play the Giants tonight. They play the Giants tonight, and the Tommy DeVito feared Giants. Now everybody fears Tommy DeVito and the Giants apparently. So, but I think the Packers win tonight, and I think they continue to increase their playoff chances. I think the Packers win. And coming in number 8, I have the Lions. I have the Lions bumped a little bit lower than what I've had them in previous years. I have the Lions coming in at number 8, previous weeks. But I have the Lions coming in at number 8 because simply they have not been playing good football over the last few weeks. You lose to a very bad Chicago Bears football team last Sunday, but yesterday. And if you're the Lions, you just don't want to see that at all because Dan Campbell has been really coaching his tail off this year. But you've had a few slip-ups, and that offense doesn't play good. And in some of those games, you have Jared Goff he's having some turnovers, some interceptions. When you turn over the ball, when Detroit turns the ball over, it just does not fare off too well. Matthew Cherry says he just got hired to Tulane within the last couple of days after Tulane coach. It just kind of shows that, in my eyes, that just kind of shows that they are not rolling right now. Of course, the Packers, they have had to get hot. Matthew Cherry says, I'm not a big fan of the NFL, but here lately I've been keeping up with the Eagles. And Matthew, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you chiming in. The Eagles are something right now. I can't quite figure them out. But I've got the Chiefs at number 7. Haven't been playing as well. I think they can get back on their feet though within the next few weeks. They are the number 3 seed in the AFC right now, by the way. And if you're a Chiefs fan or if you've been watching the NFL for the past few years, you know that the Chiefs are not a 3-seed team. They are a number 1 seed. That's what they've been over the last few years. Coming in number 6, I have the Bills. The Bills have been playing all right as of late. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs last night. They're on a roll. They lost the Philadelphia Eagles a few weeks ago, but they were in control for a lot of that game. Coming in number 5, I have the Eagles. The Eagles, well, to me, the Eagles have, I won't say lost their touch, but they took a really bad loss to the Dallas Cowboys last night. And you lose 33, I believe it was 33-13, 34-13, somewhere around there. It wasn't pretty for the Eagles, and I don't see it getting any better, especially if Jalen Hurts is not 100%. And he has definitely not been playing it. He has definitely not been playing the best that he can, or the best of his ability. I'm not sure what's going on in Philly, but they need to figure it out soon. Coming in at number 4, I have the Ravens. Now, the Ravens are playing some really good football right now. This is not a slight at the Ravens at all. A few weeks ago, I had them, I think, at number 3, number 2. I just think there's some teams that are playing a little bit better than them as of now. At number 3, I have not the Philadelphia. I have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are playing a good brand of football, guys. Their defense is good. Obviously, they lose a key piece in their defense in Jalen Phillips. He tore his Achilles a few weeks ago. That sucks for him. That sucks for the Dolphins. I hate it for Jalen because you could just tell as soon as it happened that he thought that his Achilles popped. And the emotion that he saw, or the emotion that he showed while he was on the field, was just incredible. I hate it for him. You can tell he's a lover of the game. You can tell he loves being out there on the field with his guys. So I hate it for Jalen Phillips, but I really think this Dolphins team can go far and make a deep playoff run. Coming in number 2, I have the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are playing out of their minds right now. You look at what Dak Prescott's been able to do over the last few weeks. He's been absolutely incredible. He is one of the favorites to win or I won't say he is the favorite because the favorite is Brock Purdy, the number 1 team, playing for the number 1 team, 49ers in my poll. But Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind right now. In my opinion, he's playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. Some would say Brock Purdy. Some would say it's Dak Prescott. Some would say it's maybe even Tua, Josh Allen. You also have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. You've got all these different guys. But I'm going with Dak Prescott, and he is playing the best football out of any quarterback that I've seen so far this year. Obviously, like I said, you can make arguments for whether it's Brock Purdy or some of these other guys, but Dak Prescott is dropping it in places that, well, I don't think that anybody else is doing it right now. Now, Brock Purdy is up there as well, but Dak Prescott, he's making some dumb decisions, but his upside is incredible. I believe he has reached his upside, and he's playing some fantastic football. Coming in number one, I have the 49ers. The 49ers are playing good. You look on the offensive side of the ball, you've got Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's reaching his peak. You have Brock Purdy, who's playing absolutely out of his mind, like nobody would have thought whenever they took him as Mr. Irrelevant. Nobody would have thought that, and I'm happy to see him showing out. And I cannot stand how people were sitting here and discrediting Brock Purdy for playing on a stacked team. He's doing his job. He's thrown 25 touchdowns this year due to 25 touchdowns this year to 7 interceptions. He's playing good ball. Now, I cannot sit there and discount him at all, like other people saying, oh, well, he's just playing for a stacked team. Guess what? He's doing his job. He's going out there and he's playing week to week. He's playing a top level of football right now. So that is why I have the 49ers at number one. Now, you have on the defensive side of the football, you have Fred Warner, who's been playing good. So I'm not discounting anything the 49ers are doing. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. So I'm not discounting them. They're my number one team. We've got a bunch of good games going on this weekend in the NFL. You've got the Cowboys and Bills. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites in Buffalo. That's going to be a fun one. I think the Bills are going to win that game. I think that the Bills catch the Cowboys on a bad week. The Cowboys are going to have to go to Buffalo. And if you're looking at, I believe, the Bills play on grass, I do believe it is. And if you look at the Cowboys' record on grass as it is to turf, it is not good. They have a losing record whenever they play on grass for whatever that is. I do not know, but that is a concern to me. I think the Bills get the job done this weekend. Coming up next, we have the Lions and the Broncos playing. The Broncos go to Ford Field in Detroit and are playing the Lions. The Lions are a 5.5-point favorite. Look out, because the Lions have not been playing good over the past few weeks, and the Broncos are on a heater. They just got a big win this past weekend, and they're going to look to extend their winning streak to 2. Obviously, they lost to the Houston Texans last week, but if they can get a win this week or this upcoming Sunday, that would extend their win streak to 2 games. I think the Broncos are going to go into Ford Field. They win that game. If they do, they go to 8-6. If they lose, they go to 7-7. I think that the Lions are probably going to pull this one out, but it's going to be a close one. I would not be surprised at all if the Broncos gave the Lions a run for their money. Now, another big game, the Buccaneers and the Packers. This is going to be a fun one. You look at what the Buccaneers have been able to do this year with a lackluster offense. You have Baker Mayfield out there slinging the ball around. He's actually been playing really good. He is not the dark side of their offense. Their defense is absolutely terrible. Todd, if you've been following the NFL or following the Bucs at all, you know that Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, is more than likely not going to be there after this year. He's not doing a good job. He's not doing a good job of coordinating that defense and calling plays. He's just not. For that reason only, I'm going with the Packers to win by 3.5 in Lambeau Field. Next, we have the Ravens and the Jaguars. I think the Ravens are going to win this. They are on the road, though, and Trevor, how do I forget his name now? Seriously? Wow, that is absolutely insane. I've just forgotten Trevor's name. I'm going to sit there and act like that never happened. But now we have the Eagles are favored by 3.5. The Eagles are favored by 3.5 at the Seahawks. The Eagles are favored by 3.5. The Seahawks think the Eagles win that game. Like I said, I don't really know what to think of the Eagles right now, but do not be surprised if the Seahawks win that game because the Seahawks are playing in the I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Seahawks have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. By the way, I'm going to go back to this game while I have his name. Trevor Lawrence. I don't know why I forgot his name for a second, but I just blanked. Trevor Lawrence he's not 100%. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that right now. He's not 100%. So I'm going to take the Ravens, and I think the Ravens probably win the game by double digits. I don't have faith in the Jaguars to run the ball at all. Travis Etienne has been a lot of their offense this year. You have Christian Kirk on the outside who's been playing well. You have Calvin Ridley who's been playing well. Although Christian Kirk is injured at the moment and is on IR, so he's not going to be playing in that game. You have Evan Ingram, who has been a little bit of a bright spot for that game. Yeah, you're not wrong, Trevor, or you're not wrong, Matthew. Trevor Lawrence did play awful yesterday. He threw 3 interceptions, and he also threw like 51 passes. He threw 51 passes, 3 interceptions. He just did not play good against the Cleveland Browns the other day. And Matthew, I've got to flex on Trevor a little bit because I'm indeed a Browns fan. So I got to win there. I walked away with a W. So, but yeah, that just about wraps it up. The Eagles and Seahawks. I'm going with. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go wild here. I'm going to take the Seahawks on their home field. I think the Seahawks win against the Eagles, and the Eagles continue to struggle. And that's about it for the Hayden Coach Show. I appreciate everybody for watching. It has been a great show. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Matthew Cherry for chiming in the comments. We have Justin Lindsay as well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be back next week, next Monday night at 5 o'clock. Next Monday night at 6 o'clock. Thank you to all my sponsors at Chick-fil-A in Pell City, Tyler Meads, Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor, and then you have J&K Tire and Steel. Thank you to all my sponsors. I highly appreciate you. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I will see you all again same time next week. You'll have a great one and take care.